Uh, I'll read here. Just um, the art of acquisition is a subset of the art of household management because the art of household management sets a limit on the art of acquisition. And then we're starting part 9 of book 1. Um, it just stopped me if I've read too
Wait,
far.
wait. Sorry,
You with us?
I'm a bit confused. I'm a bit
Yeah.
confused now. Is the art of acquisition a subset, or is it just acquisition for the household uh, subset?
The the art of acquisition is a subset of household management, of the art of household management,
Just
I think.
acquisition for the household.
Acquisition for the household.
Okay, so just the acquisition for the household.
Right. Why does it, and you can see why it has to be that, right, Sipho?
Yeah, because I'm thinking, what about other types of acquisition that have nothing to do with the household?
Like what?
I don't know, maybe I want to get something that's got nothing to do with maintaining the household. I'm trying to think. Maybe I want a tank. I don't know.
What do you want a tank for?
That's exactly my point. I'm just trying to say I could acquire things that have nothing to do with the household still. Am I
Well, I mean,
making sense?
what sort of
Am
tank
I
are you
just
talking about? A water tank? I mean, in South Africa, a water tank might be necessary
no,
for the household.
no, no. I was talking
In
about a war
Grahamstown.
tank,
Oh, who would
as
be
in
responsible?
armored
What
vehicle.
who would rule the acquisition of a war tank? What art would rule the acquisition
I
of a
think
war tank?
somebody who's got military, the military art.
Generalship, yeah. Yeah, the one
Yeah.
that controls the one that decides how much and what you need is the ruling art. So if the how much and what you need is for the sake of war, then it's going to be the general. And if the how much and what you need is living, well, I mean, it's just living what? Living as a household, then it's the head of the household. Whatever sets the limit rules the acquisition. If it's how much leather you need to make uh, saddles for horses, then it's the saddle maker. If it's how many saddles you need, then it's the rider. It's our usual architectonic thing that he does.
Mm.
Whatever sets the limit rules the acquisition, or yeah.
Mm.
And then
So
to
it's
know
a
the
kind of
limit, you need to know.
tautology in a way, setting the limit and ruling the acquisition.
Yeah, there's a lot there's a lot of that. Um, but that's these points about style or babbling was the language that we used earlier. More of a babbling brook, I think.
You sort of you think things through until the answer seems almost like a tautology. But we've really made a connection. The person who manages the household isn't just responsible for the form of the household. In being responsible for the form, they also end up being responsible for the material. They control what material is needed for the form.
Yes, the thinking things through until the connection has been established, and when the connection is established, it almost seems tautological, which is
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's sure.
My favorite one is all people seek the good. Of course we do. That's what it means to seek something, is to think that it's good.
Okay, okay. All people seek.
Yet, yet something, yet something about stating it like that makes it clearer. I don't know what it is, but stating it like that just makes it, I don't know, more digestible. For some reason, I wouldn't just off the bat think that everybody who's seeking seeks the good until you bring it up.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Some people seek
actually,
horrible
yeah.
things.
Mm,
Could it collapse further into all people seek? To be a person is to,
Well, I don't know if that would be a collapsing. That's a different
but
claim, right?
really,
is it, or, I mean, collapse in a good way, I think, or tighten it to a
No,
definition of
I
a
took it that
person.
way.
Okay. So where's the, yeah,
But maybe we should go back to
yeah.
the to chapter 9 here, because we can talk about seeking the good for a long time.
I'm sure we will return. Um, I'll read. Just let me know uh, if you want me to stop anyway. So part nine, book one. There is another variety of the art of acquisition, which is commonly and rightly called an art of wealth getting, and has in fact suggested the notion that riches and property have no limit. Sorry, I lost my place. Being nearly connected with the preceding, it is often identified with it. But though they are not very different, neither are they the same. The kind already described is given by nature, the other is gained by experience and art. Let us begin our discussion of the question with the following considerations. Of everything which possesses, of everything which we possess, there are two uses. Both belong to the thing as such, but not in the same manner. For one is the proper, and the other is the improper or secondary use of it. For example, a shoe is used for wear and is used for exchange. Both are uses of the shoe. He who gives a shoe in exchange for money, or food to him who wants one, does indeed use the shoe as a shoe, but this is not its proper or primary purpose. For a shoe is not made to be an object of barter. The same may be said of all possessions, for the art of exchange extends to all of them, and it arises at first from what is natural, from the circumstance that some have too little, others too much. Hence, we may infer that retail trade is not a natural part of the art of getting wealth. Had it been so, men would have ceased to exchange when they had enough. In the first community, indeed, which is the family, this art is obviously of no use, but it begins to be useful when the society increases. For the members of the family originally had all things in common. Later, when the family divided into parts, the parts shared in many things, and different parts in different things, which they had to give in exchange for what they wanted. A kind of barter which is still practiced among barbarous nations who exchange with one another the necessities of life and nothing more, giving and receiving wine, for example, in exchange for coin, and the like. This sort of barter is not part of the wealth-getting art, and is not contrary to nature, but is needed for the satisfaction of men's natural wants. The other or more complex form of exchange grew, as might have been inferred out of the simpler. When the inhabitants of one country became more dependent on those of another, and they imported what they needed and exported what they had too much of, money necessarily came into use. For the various necessaries of life are not easily carried about, and hence men agreed to employ in their dealings with each other something which was intrinsically useful and easily applicable to the purposes of life. For example, iron, silver, and the like. Of this, the value was at first measured simply by size and weight, but in process of time, they put a stamp upon it to save the trouble of weighing and to mark the value. Should I maybe stop
Should
there?
we, should we, yeah, talk about that a little bit?
So the first distinction that comes there, um, there's there's what is what is there's what is a there is what is acquired, and then there is another level of exchange on top of what can be acquired. Um, how does that come into being? So it's this other variety of acquisition, of the art of acquisition, the art of wealth getting.
Mm.
And
Uh,
wealth getting, yeah.
yeah, I wanted to ask the same question. What's the difference? What was the art of acquisition that came before this? I thought we were talking about wealth getting the first time, but it seems that wealth getting only it's only arriving now. Was I confused by the quote from Heaven of Fact? This poet is the no bounds to riches has been fixed for men. I thought the last acquisition we were talking about for the household was wealth getting. Or am I confused?
Solon was he was a poet actually. He's also uh he wrote the laws, the Athenian laws.
Hmm.
It's quite a huge figure.
So
Yeah.
what was the first type of acquisition?
If not wealth getting.
Yeah, if not wealth getting, like what was the other type? I thought that was the one we were talking about before.
Yeah, what are the two types of acquisition here? What's the difference between them?
There was a natural a natural was used somewhere here, but the sense that some acquisition is natural or according to use, and then wealth getting or exchange seems to be something on top of. Um,
What's natural?
What distinguishes the natural from the unnatural here in this case?
the I'm not sure. The natural is well, the natural fits the function of the household, so it's within the limits of need or purpose or function of the particular body that is acquiring, and then um, I guess when there's a surplus or when there's a lack, then um, some different manner of exchange comes in, and I guess that could similarly be acquisition. So we had the example of bartering as another natural example that you barter according to need. Um, but that doesn't seem to be the wealth getting. The wealth getting comes in at the level of um, when a good s- can when money comes in, when a good can stand for another good.
Yeah, I'm confused. I'm confused, really.
Well, I like the way you started there, Daniel, but I'm not sure where you went. So what's the difference between the two types of acquisition?
Is the
Nat
natural one the one determined by the household?
Okay, there's a natural one determined by the household, I guess, and another one. What makes the one natural and the other one unnatural?
The one is determined by need and limit or function,
It's limited, yeah.
limited.
And the other one, he says when he introduces, this is the crazy thing about Aristotle. He seems so unclear, but he's completely clear. This is the first line of of chapter 9 here. There's
Yeah, you're
another
right.
variety of the art of acquisition, which is commonly and rightly called an art of wealth getting, and has in fact suggested the notion that riches and property have no limit. There's
Yeah,
an unlimited one as well.
yes.
That sounds good. The reason he seems unclear is because we read that and it's not uh, immediately clear how important that is. Well, why is that important? Or how does this relate to the shoes? Put it that way. Maybe use his example here.
So the natural, I suppose the natural one with the shoes would be more like the shoes being used for the primary use, which is the wearing, and then
Well, what's the limit?
oh,
My
the
feet.
fact that you wear them and that's it.
There's only a
That's
certain number of feet in every family, in every household. It's limited how many shoes you need to make, how many shoes you need to make or acquire,
okay.
right? Family of four, I need approximately 8 shoes. It's not even approximate.
Okay. And then with the barter, I suppose the more shoes you have, the more you can get.
Right.
So there's no limit to how much you can exchange.
If you're making shoes to barter, how many shoes is enough? I mean, you just need to look at guys who are really into bartering. I don't think who's the guy who just died? Warren Buffett? Did he just die? One of these big guys just died. I've confused them all. He was never done. He would have kept going. He was still going strong when he died. He wasn't
Yeah.
anywhere close to done.
Right.
Doesn't mean anything to be done. There's no limit.
Because you can always, all right.
The it's suggested the notion that riches and property have no limit. How does just on the first line there, how does that lack of a limit, how does it how does it grow out of the limited? I mean, I can so the shoes, I can acquire more shoes than I need because I can barter it for other goods. Um, but where does the it still seems to be there might be a limit.
What would the limit be?
Um, I'm not sure, but however much space I have for for shoes or resource to make
Well, there might
or
be limit
material.
to how much is possible, like how much I'm able to acquire, but that's a different limit from how much is enough.
Yes,
How much is
yeah.
enough is how much do I need before I'm done? Before like it doesn't matter if I have more space or more money or more material. I'm done. It's the limit to Warren Buffett's wealth is just a limit determined by how much energy it's not determined by him. He's putting no limit on it. It's just how much energy and how much resources he can throw at the problem. It's a limit, uh, not a limit he's imposing. It's a limit that, in some sense, is imposed on him by necessity. The first type of limit is a limit we impose on ourselves by reason.
Then
Hmm.
does a third does a third come in with when money comes in?
Isn't money like the second one?
Right. Money doesn't seem to be necessary, doesn't seem to be involved in the first one, at least in this very short account we have of how the second one came to be. The second one doesn't exist in the family because we don't really barter. We don't really have separate households, separate wealths. Once we have separate households, now each household can strive to acquire.
Hmm.
When we have more than we need.
Hmm.
Where's this line here? Retail trade is not a natural part of the art of getting wealth. Had it been so, men would have ceased to exchange when they had enough. In the first community, indeed, which is the family, this art is obviously of no use. It begins to be useful when society increases. Later, when the family divided into parts, they shared many things, but not all things, to exchange for what they wanted. More than just the necessaries of life. Uh, Giving and receiving wine, for example, in exchange for corn and the like. That's necessaries of life. Let's notice here that Aristotle includes wine among the necessities of life. That's nice. It's only when your needs are met that we start to engage in this unnatural thing. It's kind of interesting, actually.
Hmm. It's
This,
not how it looks to me at all.
what's that, Sipho?
I'm saying after you said that, I started thinking. Seems today we engage in this to meet our necessities. Well, that makes sense. It seems we exchange in order to meet our necessities instead of only engage in it once we've met our necessities of life. Am I making sense?
You're reflecting
Uh,
on the current how you how it operates now.
it's, it doesn't seem as if, I don't know, maybe it's because of now. It doesn't seem as if we engage in the unnatural one once we've met our necessities or maybe it's because maybe you're right, Daniel. Maybe because I'm thinking of the context now. It seems like we do the second thing to meet our necessity.
He lost me. Don't we do both?
Explain.
Explain that people trade because they need to, and also sometimes to increase wealth. Isn't that
Okay.
obvious? Isn't that obvious?
Okay, no, I misunderstood you. I thought you're saying, okay, no, I misunderstood you. Now I get what you mean. So the first one is to trade in order to get wealth. I thought you're saying we first get wealth and then we start trading after we get wealth.
Okay, you might understand me, but now I've lost you. What's the first one and what's the second one?
I thought you're saying the first thing we do is we trade in order to get we trade in order to get the things we need to survive. And then the second one is we trade in order to get wealth. Is that what you're saying?
Which is the one that yeah, which is the one that you think we do today? Which is the one you think we don't do today?
No, I thought I misunderstood how the first one worked. I thought the first one is just we acquire the things we need, and then only after we acquired them, we trade. Am I making sense?
What did you think the second one was?
That, that we trade once we've acquired Larry. You're not hearing me. These are two different things.
That's what I'm saying. You're not hearing me. I'm saying I'm not hearing you.
But
Right.
this track
I
started
think,
on the
yeah, I
observation
think the
that
thing
we
you make,
only. Sorry,
okay,
Sipho.
never mind. Now, I was saying, I think what you're making point one, I mistakenly made 2 points. So I thought they were two separate points. I thought the first point is that we acquire and then we start exchanging after we acquire. I thought that was the 2 points. Not that we trade to acquire is 1 point, and then we trade to we trade to survive was 1 point, and then we trade to acquire was a separate point.
Yeah, but there is a sense in which there is a one that arises after the other. So we do try to increase wealth when we're already able to secure the necessities. We probably don't trade, we probably don't sell shoes until we have enough shoes to wear.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'm wondering where money comes in, but Sipo, I was hearing you say that um we might today try and fulfill um the wealth acquisition before the needs are met. That's at least how I heard you the first time. Um, there's like a difference in priority, or I'm not sure if that's what you're saying, but that's at least what I heard.
Nah, I was saying slightly different. I was saying slightly different, but now that we cleared it up, what I was saying made no sense to us to begin with. I was saying it seems that we do the exchange thing to survive first, because I thought exchange was different from acquisition. From acquisition.
You know, yeah, I think that's right. We do exchange to survive at first. That's part of what the household is. It it's hardly even an exchange. And then when there's two households, we do exchange. This is kind of what the political community is. Yeah, where does the money come in?
Yeah.
We need to show Daniel the money here. He wants to see the money.
There's money and there's the size, like the exchange between households. Like something becomes unmanageable in terms of bartering. Um, that the need for money comes in. Um, it's like if I don't have the good that would be part of the exchange now, I can give this stand-in good.
Yeah,
Uh, uh,
that's it. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the type of exchange. It just facilitates the exchange.
Yeah. It seems like this is a third, or there's the danger of this becoming a third. How does the um and even more unlimited than the second in potential.
Well, it allows for the possibility of the unlimitedness. I'll make a suggestion here, and you can tell me if this makes sense. It allows the unlimitedness of the second type of exchange to really get out of control. Like, I mean, you can only be so unlimited in your acquisition of wheat. This is going to
Mm.
rot at some point. You're just going to have this pile of wheat and it's going to start rotting. But if what you get for what you're exchanging is money, then you can acquire piles and piles of the stuff, and it's a stand-in for anything. So you can pursue the unlimitedness itself.
Yeah. And it's first like silver or copper or and then it becomes um then it receives a print that gives the sense of its stand-in value. So
Mm.
it's like this movement. And then I mean today it's
Music
digital
now.
even. Um
Yeah, numbers now.
It's interesting that even the digital, this applies even to the digital, it's just facilitating more and more the acquisition of the unlimitedness of it. It used to be whatever it was, copper or whatever metal, and it was how much of that copper you had. But then people had to carry around this huge thing of heavy copper. So, oh, I don't want to have to do that. Let's put a stamp
Mm.
on it and I can carry around smaller amounts and it'll stand in for the same. Now I
Mm.
just need to have a password.
yeah. And that what I think like in the 1980s when they delinked it from gold or they delinked the dollar from gold. So even like even the the digit that you had would still have um a
Physical
kind of
link.
a
Mm.
physical link, yeah. Um, its weight in gold or what did it become? What's it grounded on after that moment?
Numbers as high as you can count, apparently. Mm. Nice.
Yeah. What is it grounded on?
It functions. So
Yeah, I don't understand it at all.
yeah,
Some sort of some sort of trust, which doesn't seem healthy right now.
yeah. Then I'm sorry to kind of bring it or the tangents, but then Bitcoin is a new development in it seems almost the it does seem grounded in a way in that you mine Bitcoin, so then there is a value that it does link, like
From where? Like, where are we getting it from?
from a program, a computer, uh, but it's there's a limited amount of Bitcoin that can be mined. Um,
It used to be that even, I guess, after this transition in the 80s that you're referring to, there wasn't a physical pile of gold undergirding the American dollar, but the government was sort of standing in as a surety. Like they were assuring, we will we will we will vouch for this, and they're sort of staking their own reputation on the dollar being worth what they say it's worth. The that's a level of abstraction. You have to trust the American government. Now it's trusting in relation to Bitcoin. Part of the what's new about it is that it's not linked to trusting any government. So what is it linked to? I don't know. There's trusting of some sort of program. I mean, this is a big question people are asking about Bitcoin. Like, what is standing in as surety if the whole thing crashes?
yeah,
Even the gold is like, I mean, it's not, these steps are the gold step is already a huge step. If people just decide, you know what, I don't care about gold anymore. If there's a famine, this was probably it's probably they probably had all the
yeah,
same issues in ancient Greece when they were deciding to stamp pieces of copper. Like, if something happens and people really are starving and there's a famine, they're not going to care about a piece of copper. They want food,
A real thing.
and the whole thing's going to crash and come tumbling down. The world's going to end. It does kind of
yeah.
seem at some point that has to happen.
It's so gleeful. The the I mean, so then I guess um, because it's puzzling me how it all gets going, or there's a very confusing momentum that it has, or that is kind of brought to light in this in the possibility of it crashing. Um, but that might be the distinction that we started with, this wealth getting as being distinct from acquisition. But I don't know what I'm looking for in in that. There seems to be something there. I don't know. Does it arise naturally out of? Does this take us into the question of the state more, or I mean, where is the question of exchange being mediated from, or
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the state because he hasn't really mentioned it here yet. Maybe we're about to get it, but it does seem that this unlimited exchange it doesn't occur in the family. He said that explicitly. The type of acquisition that happens in the family is limited by the needs of the family. It's determined by the household. But now we've got this acquisition that is connected to different families trading with each other, which means that this new type of acquisition seems to become or come to be at the same time as the state comes to be. Different families somehow relating to each other, different households relating to each other.
Yeah, almost on this exact issue, or
Resting on the same distinction between households to some degree. Or maybe that's a good place to keep going here.
cool. Okay. So continuing, where I don't have I'm forgetting the name of the numbers, but I'll continue where I left off. It's
Okay.
not
Back,
Stephanus,
back
is
to
it
page.
Becker?
I think you're at 1257 B1 here.
When the use of coin had
Dominate.
once been discovered.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the use of coin had once been discovered, out of the barter of necessary articles arose the art of wealth getting, namely retail trade, which was at first probably a simple matter, but became more complicated as soon as men learned by experience whence and by what exchanges the greatest profit might be made. Originating in the use of coin, the art of getting wealth is generally thought to be chiefly concerned with it, and to be the art which produces riches and wealth, having to consider how they might be accumulated. Indeed, riches is assumed by many to be only a quantity of coin, because the arts of getting wealth and retail trade are concerned with coin. Others maintain that coined money is a mere sham, not a natural, but conventional only, because if the users substitute another commodity for it, it is worthless, and because it is not useful as a means to any of the necessities of life. And indeed, he who is rich in coin may often be in want of necessary food. But how can that how can that be wealth of which a man, sorry, I can't, um,
But how can that be wealth of which a man may have a great abundance and yet perish with hunger, like Midas in the fable, whose insatiable prayer turned everything that was set before him into gold? So there it is, Aristotle complaining about the whole economy based on these stupid brass coins crashing down in front of us.
Yeah. Oh, God.
I've really lost the place.
Hence men seek.
You want to take over, Sipho?
I'll carry. I'll carry the boat. Hence men seek after a better notion of riches and of the art of getting wealth than the mere acquisition of coin. And they are right, for natural riches and the natural art of wealth getting are a different thing in their true form. They are part of the management of the household, whereas retail trade is the art of producing wealth, not in every way, but by exchange. And it is thought to be concerned with coin, for coin is the unit of exchange and the measure or limit of it. And there is no bound to the riches which spring from this art of wealth getting. As in the art of medicine, there is no limit to the pursuit of health, and as in the other arts, there is no limit to the pursuit of their several ends. or they aim at accomplishing their ends to the uttermost, the uttermost. But of the means, there is a limit, for the end is always the limit. So too is this art of wealth getting there. So too in this art of wealth getting there is no limit of the end, which is riches of the spurious kind. What does spurious mean?
False.
Uh,
Something spurious, it's false.
of the spurious kind and the acquisition of wealth. But the art of wealth getting, which consists in household management, on the other hand, has a limit. The unlimited acquisition of wealth is not its business, and therefore, in one point of view, all riches must have a limit. Nevertheless, as a matter of fact, we find the opposite to be the case, for all getters of wealth increase their hoard of coin without limit. The source of the confusion, the source of the confusion is the near connection between the two kinds of wealth getting. In either the instrument is the same, although the use is different, and so they pass into one another, for each is a use of the same property, but with a different accumulation in the end. In what? But with a different accumulation is the end in the one case, but there is a further end in the other. And some persons are led to believe that getting wealth is the object of household management, and the whole idea of their lives is that they ought either to increase their money without limit or at any rate not to lose it. The origin of this disposition in men is that they are intent upon living only and not upon living well. Okay, they are intent upon living only and not upon living well. And as their desires are unlimited, they also desire that the means of gratifying them should be without limit. Those who do aim at a good life seek the means of obtaining bodily pleasures, and since the enjoyment of these appears to depend on property, they are absorbed in getting wealth, and so there arises the second species of wealth getting. For as their enjoyment is in excess, they seek an art which produces the excess of enjoyment. And if they are not able to supply their pleasures by the art of getting wealth, they try other arts, using in turn every faculty in a manner contrary to nature. The quality of courage, for example, is not intended to make wealth, but to inspire confidence. Neither is this the aim of the general's or of the physician's art, but the one aims at victory and the other at health. Nevertheless, some men turn every quality or art into a means of getting wealth. This they conceive to be the end, and the promotion of the end they think all things must contribute. Shit. I just finished the last paragraph.
Yeah, might as well.
Thus then, we have considered the art of wealth getting, which is unnecessary, and why men want it, and also the necessary art of wealth getting, which we have seen to be a different form, to be different from the other, and to be a natural part of the art of managing a household, concerned with the provision of food, not, however, like the former kind, unlimited, but having a limit. Yet, I can't say, can't say I disagree with that claim. Everything's for money now. Everything's for money. Like I gotta get the unlimited wealth.
Interesting how he connects the unlimitedness of gaining wealth and the unlimitedness of living to or
Pleasure.
identifying the good life with the seeking of pleasure.
Mm.
I mean, why else would somebody seek this unlimited wealth? I mean, what do they need it for? It's not about living a good life in the sense of a life of inquiry. That that would make no sense for Socrates to seek wealth for its own sake. It just doesn't match up with the type of life he lives. What's he gonna amass coin for? The person who amasses unlimited wealth is the person who has attached themselves to the unlimited. And that is the distinctive character of pleasure uh, that isn't for the sake of anything else.
I think that's um, I want to try and understand that better. Um, so pleasure that does not, uh, pleasure that is for its own sake has this quality of unlimitedness. Um, then how is he linking that with someone who has with the unlimitedness of wealth? Is it saying that the motivation for acquiring unlimited wealth comes from the being convinced of pleasure as an end, or of unlimited pleasure as an end?
This is well, I don't know how to refer to the pages for you here, but this is just above 1258A1. Looks like somewhere in the middle of what Sipho just read. No, closer, slightly closer to the end than the middle. He says, hence, some persons are led to believe that getting wealth is the object of household management. And the whole idea of their lives is that they ought either to increase their money without limit or at any rate not to lose it. The origin of this disposition in men is that they are intent upon living only and not upon living well. And as their desires are unlimited, they also desire that the means of gratifying them should be without limit.
Mm.
They would
Mm.
obviously disagree with him. They would say, of course, I'm concerned with living well. That's exactly what I'm concerned with. I want to live well, and to live well is this is this is Callicles' position in the Gorgias, Thrasymachus maybe in the Republic. Living well is having unlimited desires and having the means to satisfy those desires. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to make sure I have the means, unlimited means.
Meet unlimited ends. So this is giving. Obviously, it seems Aristotle is suggesting that living well implies having limits. Uh, and I don't know if I'm just overthinking it. Is the limits in the sense that you know what's appropriate, you know what's not appropriate, or you know what's needed, you know what's not needed. That what means when it says limits.
Yeah, I think so.
Hmm.
Yeah, you know how many shoes you need, you know how much wheat you need. So you
Hmm.
get the, but to know that, this is
Yeah.
I'm glad we're getting to this point because I'm going to have to run in a couple of minutes here. But this is the same point we always get to. To know how much of each thing you need, you got to know what you need it for. Right. So, what do I need it for? I have to know what it is that I'm doing here. I have to understand the difference between just being alive and living well. Exactly what he's claiming these people don't understand. What does it mean to live well? Well, who's supposed to know that? Most of all. Well, in one sense, all of us. And in another sense, it's the politician supposed to know what it means to live well so that he can or she can make that be the case for the people in the state. I like the way you put that good part, that first part, Sipho. I can't remember exactly how you said it, but you said something about how he's connecting uh, goodness with limit. Yeah, we could put it the other way around here as well. Limit is connected to goodness. What I take to be good for me, everything else I do is going to be limited because it's going to be done just enough to support that.
Hmm.
Yeah. It just broke my heart anew to think about how this is not the situation with politicians that I see. It's just not the so not the state of affairs. But
You don't think Cyril Ramaphosa and Donald Trump are interested in limiting wealth to what is necessary?
Cyril, he limits it to what he can fit under his bed, is what I heard.
He's got a
Um,
big bed.
Who is he limiting it for? Himself or us? That's my question. Who is he limiting? He seems more interested in limiting it for us than himself. I would use more money right now.
Trump,
All this talk about money. I would use more money right now. Feels like a personal attack from Aristotle. Every morning I wake up, I think to myself, all the money is not enough money. I just need more and more. I just need more and more.
He's not usually, usually he's very restrained, Aristotle. But in this case, I mean, it's still pretty restrained, but he's definitely making a point of just saying, these people that seek after money, they have no idea what it means to live well. They're completely confused in an unnatural way. And he's connected it to concern with coin.
Yeah, it did sound a little bit more aggressive than usual. Usually seems in the middle about things, but yeah, I felt it sounded a bit aggressive.
A little bit, yeah.
Uh, uh. So, what does it say about somebody who's just concerned? I guess that's the person who doesn't want to lose money. Person who's concerned about a problem that might come up in the future. I need this money, not because of problems I have now, but of problems that might occur. That person seems to be different from the second one.
What's the difference? Can you put your finger on it?
It seems that this person is more concerned about uh, if there might be a deficit later. So that they're not, how can I say it? They're not concerned with chasing pleasures now. Or rather, they're not concerned with chasing pleasures. It's kind of like the household management where can I put it? If there might be a deficit in the household, and it might be necessary to address a deficit that might come about.
Okay, so how see if you can say explicitly how this person who is concerned with possible future deficits is different from the Donald Trump, Cyril Ramaphosa. What was the guy who just, it doesn't matter. I can name all these guys. They're all like this person who pursues unlimited wealth.
Uh, they're trying to pursue enough. They're trying to pursue enough not to have a problem.
Yeah, so
Uh,
the enough signals the main term here.
limit. Yeah,
Limit, yeah. There's a limit
lim-
to it. Yeah, he's not saying, look, don't get medical insurance. That's just you're just throwing money away.
mm,
You prepare for the continuation of your household. Make sure that your household can continue to not just live, but to live well into the future.
mm,
Yeah, you gotta, there's going to be all sorts of balances there. How far into the future? That also could be unlimited, right? That
mm,
seems like part of what is motivating your question here. Well, to figure out how far in the future you have to think, you gotta limit it in terms of the function of the house. Think about what would support you filling your function now and being comfortable filling it and confident that you can continue to fill it.
mm. I suppose it's different because I'm thinking of it in terms of like examples of where people get wealth and somehow the wealth ends up destroying uh suppose household and themselves, which is very different with the motivation of the person who's getting the wealth to sustain the household. Making sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems the one for the pleasures. Yeah, I see. Also, what is the direction of pleasures? Like it seems hard to see like where the direction of them, like if they have an end. I guess that's the unlimited part. That's the unlimited part. Because it seems like pleasure is already something that wants more something by its nature. It seems to be based on more and more and more. It doesn't
Yeah.
seem to be.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The word for that, which actually is probably used in this passage, is pleonexia, is the word that Plato and Aristotle use for this weird character. It's pleonexic. It's always wanting more and more of itself.
Mm, uh, crazy. Well, obviously, we don't want to completely get rid of it. We just want the right amount
That's
and the
right. He's
right.
not saying he's not saying acquisition is no part of household management.
Mm, mm,
And I think you're right to notice that it's not just that my needs are met today that he's concerned with. He's not uh, uh, discounting thinking about the future. He's just you got to think about it in a limited way, in the same way you think about everything.
mm.
It's interesting that you're in a mode of thinking about the future, Sipho. That seems appropriate for right now.
You're full of jokes these days. Eh?
That's no
Full
joke.
of jokes.
Hey man, that's no joke, dude.
Yeah, this this stuff is very relevant to my life, just in general. Every time I'm basically trying to figure out these things he's talking about as I'm sitting here. And now he's talked me out of pursuing money for the sake of pursuing money.
I don't think that's a problem you're gonna have. It's good to have money though. Good to be able to feed yourself and your family.
That's true.
It's amazing. I walk around. Uh, I'm living uh, about 30 minutes from Marquette from this university, and it's a little bit north of downtown. And as you go further north, these houses they just seem to get bigger and bigger. There doesn't seem to be any limit. It's just crazy. You walk around and you're like, of course, this world is going nuts. Like, what are people doing? Like, why do they think they need such an
Mm.
enormous house?
Big family,
Yeah.
big family. Who knows?
Mhm.
I'll tell you one thing's for sure. I've never seen anybody with a big house being the person who has to clean that house. That's the one thing that always comes to my mind. How the fuck would I even clean this? I hate cleaning a room. Like, I don't know how I would manage a house. I don't know how I would manage a house, a mansion.
Yeah, man, that is probably true.
Hmm. Should probably be a dictator and enforce that as a law. Like, don't own more than you can manage.
Don't have a house too big to clean yourself.
Yeah, it's like if you can't clean it yourself,
It'll
then
be
get
a
a
sort of
smaller house.
a Buddhist dictator.
Hmm. Be a dictator, just tell them, don't take more than you can manage. Alright.
All right, fellas, I just saw the time. I do have to go here. Um,
Rad, rad.
should we plan for next week?
Yeah. Can you guys do
Yeah.
the same? Can we do 6?
Yeah, we'll go back to the time from last week.
Yeah, I want to try and make a uh Izet because it's Mondays and Tuesdays.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I want to try and make that class.
And
Cool.
where did we read up to there?
We finished chapter 9, so we're at the
Nice.
beginning of chapter 10.
Cool. So
So
six Tuesday, well, 6 South African time next week
Good.
Tuesday.
All right, guys. I
hmm,
gotta run.
Rad.
I'll see
sure
you
then,
next
Okay.
week. Have a good week.
Ciao,
sure.
ciao, you too.
Bye.
Cheers, Sipho.
Sure then. How far have you
Yebo.
gotten in depth?
Um, Death Note. Let me just stop recording. Um.